Hi, this is Roman.
And Angel.
And Nora, the editor.
And you're listening to Cinema Strolls.
The film podcast about forming an opinion and regretting it later.
Or not.
Or not.
So we just watched Mission Impossible 8, I believe is the number. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning.
Yeah.
Last Reckoning.
Final Reckoning.
Final Calls. It's the sequel to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And it was supposed to be called Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2, but I guess they changed their minds because of, I guess the previous one didn't perform as well as they expected. So now there's just a weird gap. There is no Dead Reckoning Part 2. We just went straight to Final Reckoning. It's goofy as hell, but not in the way that I wished it was. But I'm gonna rewind a little bit. What's your relationship to the Mission Impossible franchise?
We started with
very
me?
Sincere.
Starting with me?
Yes.
Because you're the Mission Impossible guy. Okay, so...
I'm not the Mission Impossible guy.
Yeah,
that makes me sound as if I like these movies. I'm a scholar, doesn't mean that I like them.
Okay. So, I like the original one very much.
Of course.
Because I'm, especially lately, I'm on like a Brian De Palma kick. So it's a movie I've always enjoyed, even before I could appreciate some of the intricacies of the filmmaking. Growing up, I've never seen Mission Impossible 2. I saw it like a year or two ago with you.
Because I had a point. I wanted to show you something.
Because you had a point to make, and we're gonna
we're
get
gonna
to
talk
that.
about that. Yeah.
I've never seen the third one because.
Well, it's JJ, and
Yeah.
we are not necessarily eager to watch JJ stuff.
Yeah, I remember really liking Ghost Protocol. And
Yeah.
Ghost Protocol is kind of like a turning point for the series because up to that point, every film is a different director with a different visual style,
Vastly
different
different
tone.
aesthetic, and basically might as well be set in a different universe. But
Pretty much.
I felt like that was maybe their intention, like maybe that's the gimmick almost. Like not a single one of these movies would have continuity in terms of style, and you would have this Ethan Hunt character in completely different settings and even genres almost.
Yeah, and then Ghost Protocol happened, and it kind of put the series square into like not a multiverse. What I'm trying to say, like
Well, it's not Marvelized yet, which is what
it's not Marvelized yet in Ghost Protocol, but it's the start of having consistent. Well,
lore,
more consistent lore and tone
character, yeah.
and characters
and
that
tone, exactly.
come back.
So I think you can kind of separate them into three phases. So the first phase would be the original trilogy, as we said, different director for each one, vastly different vision, somewhat mixed results, but doesn't take itself too seriously as a franchise, I think. And the second phase would be Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation, where it becomes a little bit more almost comedic to a certain extent. It becomes more bantery, more... I mean, Ghost Protocol was directed by Brad Bird, who is a director of animated films. Like Ghost Protocol feels like a cartoon almost, but
Feels
in a
like
good way.
Like one of his films, kind of like The Incredibles.
Exactly,
in many ways,
And
which
in
is a good thing.
In a good way, and then Christopher McQuarrie becomes the official director of the series with Rogue Nation. Christopher McQuarrie, interesting career. As a very young man, he won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for The Usual Suspects, which you might remember as a film with distinct dialogue. I don't know what happened.
We know what happened. Tom Cruise happened.
Yeah, for sure. He then, his directorial debut was one that I've never seen actually. We're trying to run away from all the noises around us. The Way of the Gun. Have you watched it?
I've never seen The Way of the Gun.
Because I think it's one of those Tarantino knockoffs from the era, from the Boondock Saints kind of era.
Right.
With
the Dark Days.
Benicio del Toro and I'm not sure who else. And then he went into director jail. He didn't do anything for quite a long time. And I think he got a gig writing for Valkyrie, the movie Valkyrie with Tom Cruise. And after that, he directed Jack Reacher, and basically he's been married to Tom Cruise ever since. He is the official Tom Cruise
Guy.
sidekick almost. And even when he's not directing the movie, he's writing it or co-writing it. For example, Top Gun Maverick, he's one of the screenwriters of that one.
Okay.
And he has directed every single Mission Impossible.
Since that record.
So the third phase, I think, starts with Fallout. And it's basically when the series decides, for some reason, to be epic, to have incredibly high stakes, and to, for some reason, pretend that there's like a strong emotional core to it. And if you listen to interviews with them, you'll be surprised by how seriously they seem to take the whole friendship thing, almost as a theme, or like the emotional core of the Ethan Hunt character. And I don't get it. I don't think there's much there at all. I think these movies, the other thing that happens with the movies is that the stunts get crazier and crazier. As we know, Tom Cruise
Has a death wish.
has a death wish, exactly. And with each movie, he does incredibly, objectively impressive stuff, which unfortunately doesn't always translate on screen as actually as impressive as it actually is.
It's very true. It's true here as well.
And the thing that I noticed, and the thing that got this whole ball rolling, was when I watched Fallout, I remember noticing that the dialogue was childish, incredibly childish, incredibly filled with exposition, incredibly naive. And I think that's when the series started being Marvelized, like started imitating the Marvel sort of style.
Yeah.
And it got really bad with Dead Reckoning, Part 1.
Yep.
And it hasn't gotten better with Final Reckoning.
No, it's gotten way worse.
It's gotten worse. There are moments that I almost felt like it was self-aware. I almost enjoyed it in a sort of like a Metal Gear Solid kind of way.
Yeah, that's a very interesting observation.
Yeah.
Because you've mentioned this for Dead Reckoning as well.
Yeah, but
We were
here it
talking
was
about-
more overtly like that, especially because they had these weird flashbacks whenever...
That was very Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah, exactly.
The excruciatingly long lore dumps.
Yeah.
And trying to tie up everything to everything else that has happened
Exactly.
before. With a notable exception of Mission
Who
Impossible 2.
takes this seriously though?
Nobody.
I'm not sure there's any sincere...
Tom Cruise does.
Yeah, other than Tom Cruise and his entire marketing department, who are trying to please him, who actually watches these movies because of the lore? And if you, let's say those people exist, would they be satisfied with the...
I don't know, man.
Stop for a bit, because...
I've seen some reviews, and the reviews tend to be better than The Reckoning, which
I think, well, okay, then that...
is very shocking to me because I feel like this film is like objectively bad filmmaking.
Except for, I mean, we'll get to the excepts, I guess, but I think that you're right. I guess people were really, really impressed by the stunts, maybe the whole...
But they don't look that good, though.
I disagree.
I mean, the plane stuff was good.
Oh yeah, the plane stuff is the main thing.
Yeah, well, the submarine.
And we could have gotten to it way earlier.
Yes, this didn't need to be 170 minutes.
No,
God,
for
no.
sure. There are two big sort of set pieces in the film. And this is something that Christopher McQuarrie has talked about. These movies don't have a conventional screenplay, apparently. Somehow they have a series of set pieces that they want to do. They have a series of action beats, and they start shooting them without having a locked script.
And this is very obvious.
It's very obvious, and I'm not sure why people are pretending that it's impressive. That, I mean, you can tell because you can tell that the money goes into those big set pieces, but then whenever you see people talking, it's the most basic sort of coverage.
Oh yeah.
Just people in rooms. Often they don't move. They just sort of stand still. And it's covered in the most basic way, like you get a series of close-ups, you get a series of wide shots.
You just get the coverage and move on.
And move on.
Can we talk about, first of all, so in preparation for this film, like a
Yeah.
few weeks back, we watched Dead Reckoning. You've seen it before. I have
Yeah, only
not
because
seen it.
only because I wanted to know what the entity is, like the main villain of this new one.
Yeah.
Although the movie does kind of catch you up on the last
Oh
one.
yeah, you could have never seen or heard of Mission Impossible, and you'd be caught up on absolutely
In
everything.
fact, I think there's even some slight contradictions there.
There are.
Yeah, in the plot.
For sure. But one thing I want to point out is talking about how they don't have a script when they start filming. It's very obvious in the opening of Dead Reckoning, and it's extremely obvious here as well, that they just shoot a few scenes of Tom Cruise just staring and listening intently without having no idea what the actual
mission is, or
mission will be.
Because usually these movies always start with a voiceover, with him receiving the mission on some device, and it's usually a voiceover that he hears.
Yes, and it's incredibly obvious to me that they just
it's a
had some
salvage
coverage.
operation, the whole thing.
Absolutely.
And it happens also, these two movies were shot kind of back to back, and they're also like COVID productions. COVID happened as they were filming, so it's really a salvage job. And I mean, what can you say? It's incredibly silly, but not in a good way.
No, it's not the self-aware kind of thing that you can...
That it could have been.
That it could have been. I mean, when you're watching Dead Reckoning, you say that this is kind of Metal Gear Solid-ish. There were some action beats in the desert or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I can see it. And now with the grainy flashbacks, I could see this type of thing. I could see Christopher McQuarrie, right?
Yeah.
Making a Metal Gear Solid film.
Maybe if he
But maybe it's not a good idea.
I can see him getting the job.
Yeah, but I can see the limitations of why a Metal Gear Solid film using the Metal Gear Solid cliches that this is kind of, I'm not saying it's intentional, but it's very reminiscent of in some ways.
Yeah.
And I think this would be a horrible idea that nobody should do.
Okay, so we're no longer excited about the prospects of a Metal Gear Solid film.
Oh no.
This is a proof of concept for not that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that. I don't know where to even begin. I don't know where to even begin talking about this.
Well, let's start with a beloved character who seems to have developed cancer in 2 months in between movies, and who only has cancer so that you can feel slightly less bad that he ends up dying in a big explosion.
Which isn't this kind of taken away from the sacrifice though? If he's already going to die, this is very
takes
silly.
away from the sacrifice of,
also,
spoiler alert,
really
beloved character Luther.
Yeah.
Who is great.
Who is great. Ving Rhames is great. He's been here from the very start.
Yeah.
Honestly, talking about how this is trying, all of a sudden this series is about family, it's kind of trying to aid the Fast and Furious thing.
No. It's about friendship.
It's about friendship.
You're mixing it up with the Fast and Furious
sorry.
series. Okay.
It's very important that we make
an
the
important
distinction.
yes.
But they decide to kind of just retcon everything at some point and act like these movies have always been about friendship.
Yeah.
And
which they
Simon
very
Pegg,
much were not.
Nope. When you have Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames who are very good friends and they do a lot of things together. So when Luther dies and Benji, there's not a scene of Benji mourning.
Nope.
Which really fucks me up because they were very close in previous films.
Yeah.
I guess
It's
this
not
got
fair.
cut. It's not fair that
a lot of stuff got cut.
We see Tom Cruise feeling bad about it.
I wanted to sit in the gazebo, but
no,
there might be piss on it.
Yeah.
For real.
Let's not.
Jesus.
Do the
it's
gazebo.
Impossible to find a spot.
Yeah.
Because it might start raining. Anyway, yeah. Benji doesn't mourn. You don't see Benji mourning.
There's
Luther.
nobody doing anything that's not concentrated on Tom Cruise, and this has been the case since
since Fallout. I would say.
Fallout.
No,
but now it's incredibly
actually,
distracting.
Compared to even like what you said, Ghost Protocol, the good one of what the series ended up becoming. Ghost Protocol is an ensemble. As much as a movie starring Tom Cruise can be an ensemble movie, but all the other characters have motivations. Yeah. They're very well fleshed out.
They had their moments.
And this has not happened since then.
Nope.
And even Ghost Protocol, I'm pretty sure, was being set up as a sort of... The next movie was, I think, maybe going to be a new series starring the Jeremy Renner character.
Really?
I think so. I mean, it was leaning in that way. But I guess they just decided that... Tom Cruise decided that this is all about him and his weird messiah complex.
Which is very... Oh, dude, the ending of this.
Very apparent.
Oh.
But you know, if he's gonna be a messiah, at least he could die for people's sins, you know?
They kind of fake you out thinking that he might have because the parachute doesn't open.
Yeah, except, he had a second parachute, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There are some good actors. A lot of great actors.
I'm going to talk
in this.
about some things I like,
Okay.
and they're going to be very short because it's a long movie. There's a scene early on where he does a little fake out with a cyanide pill that I thought was a very good little spy moment. I was like, okay, more of this, please.
But they never do more.
I enjoy the middle section of the film when Tom Cruise gets to the submarine and the other characters get to wherever they're going. I'm not saying the dialogue, I'm not saying necessarily the details of it, but I enjoy the build-up towards him diving. There's a long section filmed underwater, no talking, which helps. And I like that. I mean, it was, I can see how it could have worked in a better movie.
It reminded me, sorry to interrupt, but the whole thing, especially when they go to that island and we see the character from the first one who've been exiled there for like 30 years and his Inuit wife.
Yeah.
And the whole thing got a very serious role on Emmerich tone.
Yes. Oh my God, you're very right about that.
And the whole thing is so naive and 90s in many ways.
It's
but
very
it
much
just
like
falls
it was
so flat.
very much like a Roland Emmerich movie.
Yeah, this section especially.
Yeah.
With them, with the sleigh dogs.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
going
yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
the whole. It's very Roland Emmerich, I think.
I agree.
But I feel like Roland Emmerich would have done a better job of it.
Don't be so sure.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And
When
also
was the last time you watched a Roland Emmerich
It's been a
movie?
while. But I also hate the editing because the editing is
It's
very
bad.
choppy.
It's very bad.
fast-paced. It's
It's one of those cases where you can't even be mad at, because obviously it's a salvage job. Like, obviously they're trying to save their movie.
Well, when you have like a 30-minute budget, you know, my sympathies only
Did you
go
say 30
that far.
million?
300 million.
Okay, yeah, more like.
Yeah. When you have that amount of money, my sympathies kind of wear thin.
No, I'm
You
talking.
should have done a
Well,
better job.
no, I mean, I'm just saying it's not the editor's fault necessarily. I think
No.
it's the
There's also
director
producing
and
pressure
Tom
for
Cruise
sure.
and yeah, there's pressures for sure.
Absolutely. But when we were talking about the reckoning, and I thought it was very bad, but
Yeah.
I was like, there's a good film here. Maybe if you could re-edit this, shorten it down, expand some bits, mostly shorten it down. You could do a better film
Yeah.
with a better
and you're
tone.
not seeing it here.
I'm not seeing. I don't think
I
this
think
is
the
salvageable.
submarine. I just think the submarine section ending
its own?
and on its own, and that would be your third act. The sort of long distance coordinating that happens between his team up on the surface and him down there, and it might even have been. I mean, in a completely different movie, it might even have been okay if he had died at this point. You
Yep.
know? Sort of carrying whatever he needs to carry up to the surface.
Save the world because
Exactly.
he's a messiah. so-
Exactly. Even the way. Oh my God!
Oh my God.
All right. Well, we are in a park, and it's about to start raining. I think Tom Cruise is angry at us.
We have angered the gods.
We've angered Scientology Jesus.
Yes.
Okay.
What was the?
Well,
what was the Scientology god? The not Xenu.
It was Zeno.
Xenu, right?
No, Zeno was the bad. I don't think this. Zeno is the bad one.
Ah,
The Satan figure. I don't know. Anyway, what am I? Trey Parker? I don't know enough about Scientology. All right, let's go back to the subject.
So
The ice section, I think, when he floats up to the surface, could have worked better in a completely different film. And the plane stuff also could have worked in a completely different film.
yeah. My feeling is it would be better if it was one or the other. Because
Also, what they're doing is, sorry to interrupt, they are kind of revisiting things that they've done before and doing them, I would say, better, because there was already an underwater section in one of the films. There was a section of him hanging off of a plane in one of the other ones,
Yeah.
and they're kind of
upping the
doing
ante.
some pretty crazy things in this one. And it's probably the bulk of the shoot schedule probably went into that plane sequence. Like
Yep.
probably that was months and months and months of just shooting little bits.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah, and
It is impressive.
It is impressive, and it's crazy that, I mean, please utilize this man's Death Wish for a better movie, because it would. I still need to care about the characters. Otherwise, it's just empty spectacle, and not enough of it because there's too much talking.
And the talking is not good because you don't care about
The
the
talking
characters.
is aggressively not good.
Yeah, the talking is. The writing in this film is horrible. I know it's a salvage job. We've discussed this, but still.
I don't understand what people are smoking when they say that these movies are good. I mean, they were decent up to a point, but they haven't gotten better since Fallout. And people, for some reason, even pretend that, or they say that Fallout is the best one. It's definitely not.
Which one was the Fallout? I'm not sure if I've seen
Henry
Fallout.
Cavill one.
Oh, okay. I've seen Henry Cavill.
Yeah, it's okay. It wasn't this bad.
Henry Cavill was good in it, and
Yeah.
I like the fight in the bathroom was great.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some stuff at the end. I mean, I couldn't care less about the plot. But
I'm okay with not having to. I'm okay with the plot being an excuse to hang amazing stunts, you know. But
up to a point.
well, no, I mean I can watch a number of Hong Kong movies if I want to have that experience, you know.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say, sorry, is that I'm building up to this. So Henry Cavill, Fallout,
Yeah.
there was great fighting choreography.
Yes.
There's very bad fighting choreography.
Also, I would
say
say worse cinematography overall.
worse cinematography on every level. Just
Yeah.
the movie just doesn't look as good as the previous one. Other than the two stand out, the submarine and plane thing.
Yeah, because all the money and all the
Everything-
effort
yes.
went there.
Everything else is very subpar.
Yeah.
Not very subpar, but under the level of this
Of good movie.
Yeah. And of this series as well,
I agree.
I would say.
I agree.
And there's my big disappointment at the end of Dead Reckoning. One of the few things I liked is the whole idea that everything needs to be analog now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ooh, they're gonna play around with this.
Yeah.
And they don't.
They don't know.
There's like a war room that's analog, but
Yeah.
we don't spend any time there.
Yeah.
It's generally very overlooked aspect of the whole thing, and it's everything. It's about Ethan Hunt. Also, can we talk about the complete degradation of Ethan Hunt as a character?
He's a different person.
He's a different person.
But see, that I don't mind. Even he's a different person in the first 3 movies as well. But it doesn't bother me because the stakes are low. These are not important movies, and each one has a different sort of directorial vision. But
of what an Ethan Hunt should be.
yeah, exactly. But he's a spy. Seems to be a decent kind of guy for a spy. He's not murderous like James Bond. He's an anti-Bond in some ways. But he's still
He's not a rapist.
exactly
as far as we know.
as far as we know. But there's a lot more edge to him in the first 2 movies.
Maybe the third one. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Actually, the third one is, yeah, I mean, surprisingly for J.J. Abrams, it gets pretty dark at times. But he becomes, how would you describe it?
He's nothing.
When I was a kid, because the reason why I have Mission Impossible on my mind to begin with, I had these movies on VHS, recorded off of the TV. I had the first one and then the second one on one tape, one after the other. So I've seen the first 2 quite a bit. You know, as a kid, when you watch movies with grown-ups and you kind of listen to grown-ups talk and you're like, I can't wait to become a grown-up. If I were a kid now watching these movies, I would be like, why are these grown-ups talking like kids? This is ugly. This is awkward.
It is very awkward.
Why are they acting like man children?
Yeah.
And the big question is, why did the series go in this direction? Why did Ethan Hunt have to become Jesus? And who is this for? And does it work actually?
It's making money.
Yeah. Is
I
this
mean-
necessary to get an international audience? I don't know.
There's something very cynical about this film, specifically this one.
Yeah, I agree.
With these, everything is spelled out for you multiple times. There are lordoms that go on for like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a single reference or anything that is not
Reinforced.
reinforced and spelled out for you. So it was like the Spaceball thing. Everybody got that?
Exactly.
At any point, it doesn't happen once at the beginning. It happens like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
When he listens to like Ving Rhames' tape that he got him before his death,
Yeah.
it felt very much like the ending of Metal Gear Solid 1, actually,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
in many ways, with the philosophizing that goes on for way too long.
And it's not.
And
I mean, I
it's
spaced
so
out.
hollow.
I'm not sure if it's. I'm pretty sure it wasn't good philosophizing.
It's so hollow, and I hate the fact that they think the audience is so stupid.
I
Or
agree.
They will be so distracted.
It's an
that you can
insulting
never-
film. It's
It is.
insulting, and if you listen to them talk in interviews, it's insulting how seriously they're playing it. Like Christopher McQuarrie, he is so serious and so confident when he talks, and I gotta believe that he knows the movie he made. He can't be delulu about it. I'm not sure about Tom Cruise. You can never tell because I'm pretty sure Tom Cruise has never given a sincere emotion in an interview. But
Also, he's been in his own little world for like 40 years.
yeah.
So
I mean, I want to say something. I think Tom Cruise is a very good actor, and I think we lost the Tom Cruise that could have been. I think I watched Interview with a Vampire
he's amazing there.
recently with you.
Yep. I think you haven't seen it before.
I hadn't seen it before. Amazing movie. He's amazing in it. Collateral, amazing movie. He's amazing in it.
Magnolia, of course.
Magnolia, yes.
He's done very good things. Even in something like Edge of Tomorrow, he's very charming.
Very properly cast as
Yeah,
well.
he's kind of smarmy. And it's okay for you to dislike him, but then you grow to like him because he has like an arc.
Yeah.
There's development to the character. There's no development to the character here.
No, the only development is that he has less and less personality.
He's so devoid of anything.
Uh-huh.
It's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive how it's like a husk of a person. He's like a puppet,
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
and it's kind of horrifying. It feels like I don't want to get the AI thing into it, even though the film is about AI, but it kind of feels like the type of movie AI will generate.
even though the movie takes an anti-AI statement.
Yeah.
And also I've heard people say that Tom Cruise, with his focus on practical effects and all that, he's the anti-AI, he's pro the real cinema,
Yeah, right.
popcorn loving America experience. And I'm like, well, are we sure that he himself is not AI generated? Because
Are we sure he hasn't been replaced?
yeah. Okay, yeah, you're doing these amazing things practically at 60 something. He's older than John Voight was in the first one. Objectively very impressive. I'm sure it's easier to be in the best shape of your life when
you're
that's
a multimillionaire,
your
yeah.
full-time job and you have servants around you. I mean, you gotta attach that to something better. But I think the movie, is it making as much money as you think it is?
I haven't checked the box office. I feel like the reviews are better than it deserves.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, I haven't done any digging because I want this to be like a raw,
Yeah. Well,
unfiltered
I
reaction.
don't generally I don't like checking box office and stuff like that. But I can't imagine that people enjoy this film sincerely.
It's
I
very
can
hard.
believe that Marvel has sincere fans. I cannot believe that this movie has sincere fans. You know,
Other than people who are obsessed with Tom Cruise specifically,
well,
who would care about any of this? There's
actually, I would say I think more like filmmakers might be more interested in this just because of the technical side of, you know, shooting all those things.
actually, this reminds me of something. So I'm sure you're aware of this YouTube series that's no CGI. Is
Means
actually,
Invisible CGI.
Means
Yeah,
Invisible
very,
CGI.
very good YouTube series.
Yeah, so they had a new episode. I watched it.
I haven't
They
watched it yet. Yeah.
They started talking about the Final Reckoning, so I stopped at that point.
Okay.
But they talked about there was a magazine called Cinefex,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very old, from like the 80s or early 90s
Mm-hmm.
periodical specifically about visual effects.
Mm-hmm.
And they've covered all the Mission Impossible films up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the coverage now, but for the first time in the magazine's history, they didn't publish any photographs, and they started their article with a statement saying, we asked for behind the scenes stuff, and all they sent us was like doctored,
Yes.
PR approved.
Yeah, because even
pieces.
the BTS that you watch is actually quite often tweaked with invisible CGI to make it look more practical than it is.
Yeah.
For example, if you look at the footage of the behind-the-scenes footage of Tom Cruise on the airplane, He is there. He's on the airplane wing. Seems to be attached by only a single wire. I wouldn't be surprised
I'm
if
pretty
it's
sure
a
it's
more
not.
complicated rig than that, and they just
Yep, I'm absolutely
deleted.
sure.
They deleted a little bit of it. They just left a little bit just so it looks feasible, but they made him look like.
I think it was in Fallout when he's on the plane the
The
previous time he was on a plane?
No, it was in Rogue Nation when he's
Okay.
hanging off the side of.
Yeah, I
of
haven't
a
seen
plane.
Rogue Nation. I think this is the only one I haven't seen.
Yeah, it's decent
Okay,
compared
but
to this. For sure.
you know that behind the scenes, when he's there, he's like attached for the air.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's like a silicone mask on his face.
No. See, I think we've talked about this before. I actually looked at. Again, it might be doctored, but I think he doesn't have a full-on silicone mask on his face. He has contact lenses. And you can see footage that looks, I mean, I've seen footage from that film that looks pretty realistic, as if, I don't think it's doctored. I think he actually didn't have too much in terms of like face protection. But that's an incredibly simple stunt compared to
What he's
the
doing now.
one we watched now. I mean, he's just sort of attached to a plane. It's not the same as what he does in this one. He's on a little propeller plane wing, and he's moving around and hanging off to the side and whatnot.
Jumping from one like cabin to the other.
I like that stuff. There's some really good visuals there that,
There are?
that if I picture them in a better movie, I would be amazed. But I can tell you, because people criticize Marvel for all the green screen and CGI, and obviously I'm not a huge Marvel fan, but the last two Avengers were objectively better filmmaking than this. And it's
Most things are better filmed.
exactly, and those movies are shot almost entirely in front of green screens. And I care more about Tony Stark's little, plight and self-sacrifice than I care about Ethan Hunt's, because you still have to have some kind of story there,
And
some kind of
character.
connection with these characters. I don't understand why Mission Impossible of all series had to become so self-serious.
It's very unfortunate. It kind of sucks
The joy out
fun,
of the
yeah.
previous ones, because I mean, we rewatched the first one recently. Very fun.
I want to get into details. So
Yeah.
you showed me Dead Reckoning Part 1, and I was so distraught
Yes.
that I begged you
That we
to
watched the
put
first one
put
again,
the first one. So we end the night on a good film,
Yeah, and it is a good film.
and it is a good. It's a
And-
lot of fun. It's nothing amazing. I mean, the plot is thin there as well, but it's so much fun.
Yep.
It's still more of an ensemble piece because you have characters, you have banter, you have like there's
but
organic.
well-written banter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well acted. Because you have good characters here who are doing their goddamn best, and there's nothing happening. Hayley Atwell is great. I mean, it's weird that they introduced her in the previous film, and now
Now she's
She's
basically the new Rebecca Ferguson.
yeah,
And Rebecca Ferguson was the new Tom Cruise's wife. No, what was the actress?
Moynihan, something.
Yeah. Michelle Moynihan? No.
Michelle? Yeah, something like that. From True Detective.
Yes. And she was the new Tandy Newton. What was the name of the actress from the
Tandy
second?
Newton?
Tandy Newton.
Tandy A. Newton.
I think basically women
Michelle
don't.
Monaghan. Yeah.
Seems like women don't like sticking around for this franchise.
Yeah. I mean, they got Rebecca Ferguson back for the Dead Reckoning.
Yeah, she's been back. I think she's been back 3 times. She's introduced in,
And she's nowhere to be found here, which is also kind of.
not even in the flashbacks.
Yeah, this is so
Because
strange.
she died in the last one. Maybe I think it's because of licensing. Like she's actually a big deal star now, so maybe they couldn't. I don't know.
She was like, I don't want any part
I
of
don't.
this,
I don't know.
or at least give me a lot more money. So yeah, Hayley Atwell, she's great. I really like her. I feel very bad for her here.
Yeah.
She's trying her damnedest.
I feel bad for everyone.
I feel absolutely bad for everyone. Also, can we talk about talking about how these films become more and more childish in their tone and self-serious? Can we talk about nobody fucking anymore in big budget films?
Well, Tom Cruise hasn't had sex. I mean, I don't know. Okay, actually, I don't know if he has sex in movies, but he hasn't had. Ethan Hunt hasn't had a partner or like any sort of sexual dynamic with anyone since the second movie, and he actually has a wife in the third one. But the second one actually does a lot more with like the romance subplot.
I mean, the second one is remembered as this gaudy a relic of the early 2000s, but it's a lot of fun, and the style is much better than this in
Yeah,
this
and
one.
it's also weirdly more serious than even the first one, just in terms of how the characters talk. And
Yeah, it's much more realistic and
Yeah.
grounded in their performances.
The John Woo movie is
Yeah.
much more realistic and grounded than any of this. But yeah, let's go back to the nobody having sex in movies.
Because they
thing.
introduced Haley Atwell as kind of like a potential love interest.
Yeah, but
But
in the-
everything's is extremely platonic.
it was also the same way with Rebecca Ferguson. I think Ethan Hunt might have become voluntary celibate. I don't know. He's a messiah figure.
Like the only kiss I've seen, like in the Fallout, is what was the name? She's great. The new from Fantastic Four. The blonde
Oh, yeah,
actress.
yeah.
Because she kisses him, kind of.
Yes,
She
forcibly.
forcibly
almost.
kisses him, and he's like stone cold, and there's nothing there.
I forgot her name. That's embarrassing.
This is very
she's so good. We have to check.
She was in Napoleon.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Vanessa Kirby.
Yeah.
So you have Vanessa Kirby in Fallout, and she was so fun in Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
She was so enjoyable, and then Dead Reckoning, she had nothing to do,
Mm-hmm.
which is very sad because she's a great actress, hamming it up, having fun. And yeah, the only like interaction he's had with like the female persuasion is Rebecca Ferguson forcibly kissing him
Yeah.
in Fallout,
Yeah.
and then nothing since then. You have this kind of looks like a kiss, but it turns out it's actually she's giving him mouth
Yeah,
to
she's
mouth to
resuscitating
resuscitate
him. Yeah.
and they're in this decompression chamber.
Yeah.
But it kind of looks like they're in bed together.
Mm-hmm.
It's so strange why he's doing that. Is there like a marketing research that shows that he needs to be sexless to appeal to more people?
I mean, Star Wars got sexless as well. Not that it ever had much sex, but like the characters got very much like aromantic in the third trilogy. So I don't know.
Which is weird because you had this in the Ryan Johnson one. You had this.
They had a
blossoming-
little bit of tension there. Yeah.
Yeah,
but-
you had
but
this
n-
blossoming romance between.
Yeah, but you know they have the Han Solo chasing after Princess Leia thing, which obviously might not have aged well. I don't know, but I guess movies have overall gotten less and less sexy because I think market research has told them that you need your movie to be sort of to not offend anyone.
This is
And-
another reason I appreciate Sinners more and more after we've seen it,
Yeah.
because that movie got raunchy.
Yep, for
That movie
sure.
was. It's been a while
That
since
film
you've
was
seen it.
DTF, and
Yeah, it was great.
yeah,
It's
sure.
good to have films for grown-ups. You don't need to have like full frontal all the time,
Mhm.
but give us something. Give us
Yeah.
some chemistry between the characters.
Yeah. I mean, whatever chemistry happens is almost accidental. Yeah, like you mentioned, there's some chemistry in terms of friendship between Benji and Luther. You can tell how these actors are sort of aching to have something to do.
Yeah, and it's because of the editing, in many ways. I'm
The
sure.
editing, especially in the first, I would say, 30 minutes of this film,
It's atrocious.
was atrocious.
You skip to locations.
Bordering to avant-garde. Like he was one step further and it would have gotten experimental.
Yeah. It felt like, all of a sudden he's like in some kind of party, and Haley Atwell's character shows up, and then they got accosted, and there was no.
They got a
time
little.
for you to
They got a
go.
little too confident with their editing. They were like, "Oh,
Yes. Which for a movie who's trying to explain every single bit to you, so everything is as clear
Yeah.
as possible, text-wise.
yeah."
They didn't care that you wouldn't be able to read some of the cuts.
No, when I suggested we do this movie, I thought maybe we would have a larger point about the infantilization of the male, like the lead or the blockbuster protagonist. But actually, this film is uniquely bad. I'm not even sure this is part of a trend, to be honest. Maybe it's the worst example of a trend. And
This is the epiphany of this film.
Yeah.
This is like the gold standard of things getting this bad. You've seen the new Fast and Furious. I've only seen. ever
no,
seen
but
the-
it's a completely different thing. First of all, I'm not out here bemoaning that they ruined the Fast and Furious series. I like that it got like sort of soap opera-ish.
Yeah.
And then
it's
it
having
got
more fun than this for sure.
it has a way more fun. Then it got a little too far. It actually got a lot too far with the last couple of movies, and it stopped being fun. So they're gonna do some kind of readjustment. But I'm not putting these series on the same
Okay,
sort
but
of
the previous
degree.
one, I haven't seen it, but you have Jason Momoa.
No, he's having fun. He's having fun.
having
The
it
film
up-
is not good at all.
I'm sure
Fast
it's
X,
not.
it's
But at least it's having fun in a
It's
way that
having
this
fun, yes.
does not allow anybody to
And
have
it's,
this level of fun.
it's self-aware of how ridiculous it's gotten, which if you're gonna do ridiculous things, maybe it helps to be a little self-aware. I don't know. Or maybe just don't be too ridiculous in your sort of serious spy series. I don't know. I get the decision making behind making the villain an AI. I'm sure the next Bond will probably be about AI as well. But it's the most obvious.
It's like the
seen
most-
1,000
yeah.
times.
It's the most comic booky in a bad way. I
Yeah.
like comic books. I have a lot of respect for it.
Mhm.
But in like a weekly comic book, it's playing with tropes and shorthands,
Mhm.
like for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, if this has always been this level of you know, of tropiness,
Yeah.
maybe it wouldn't bother me this much.
Yeah. You might
But
also
like
not
the-
have watched it at all.
Yeah, but decline of quality
Yeah.
of storytelling
Yeah.
and filmmaking in this series.
From Academy Award winner
Yes,
Christopher McQuarrie.
and it's inverse of the budget.
Yeah.
The more expensive those movies get, the worse they get. This reminds me of this Orky guy, the guy who
Bob Orsi.
Bob Orsi, yeah.
Orki. Yeah, he was actually a co-writer on Mission Impossible 3.
I have no
he-
fucking doubt.
He works with JJ, so that makes
Yeah.
sense. He used to work.
When they were doing the JJ Star Treks, in the Into Darkness, the one that everybody hates, he was, I think in an interview he said something that was very poignant. He said that once your movie exceeds $100 million budget, it needs to be about saving the world. The stakes need to get so ridiculous because you need to make sure that this will be something that everybody will want to see. And you cannot have a $200.
Well, to that I would say, why don't you
million
try? Try
I
and
would like to
see
try, yeah.
what happens if it's not that.
Yeah, can you make a $200 million movie?
Inception was
That
a
is small
200.
stakes.
Inception was a $100 million movie about a guy who has to overcome his guilt for his dead wife. There's literally zero world-ending stakes in that one. Everything happens inside some guy's dream, you know.
Yeah.
So
And I was a hit, so
it was yeah, absolutely.
maybe more of this, please. Can we just have because of course Mission Impossible started as a TV series in the 60s, it was right in the 80s, then Tom Cruise got on board and made it his own personal kind of James Bond thing, an ego trip. And the original series, I haven't seen much of it, but it's,
I've seen 1 or 2 episodes.
yeah, but it's about outsmarting. It's not about action, it's not about huge set pieces, it's about, not Rube Goldberg, but the mechanics of how you're gonna execute this mission, and everything needs to be perfect. Kind of more like a Ocean's 11 thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we have
Well-
something like that again, please?
So you want Soderbergh to direct the next Mission Impossible?
No, I'm not sure I want anybody to direct the next Mission Impossible.
Oh, they're gonna reboot it at some point, like a full-on, hard reboot,
They'll have to.
a hard reset of some kind. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I love Soderbergh. We've discussed Soderbergh. He can do crowd pleasers. I'm okay with this being this Mission Impossible being more bombastic, huge thing, but it needs to be. Oh, I don't know. I feel like we're running in circles.
It needs to be good filmmaking.
It needs to be good filmmaking. Doesn't need to be about saving the world. It just needs to have something, a goal that we care about, that the characters and the protagonists.
Yeah, on that
reach.
note, go out and rewatch Ghost Protocol, because that was that in many ways. Like Mission Impossible 4 is exactly kind of what you're describing.
I haven't seen it since it came out, but I remember liking it very much.
It's very enjoyable. Something similar to what you said about the interview with the writer. There's an interview with Christopher McQuarrie recently where he says that Tom Cruise, I don't know why he's talking on behalf of Tom Cruise, but he says Tom Cruise cannot do Magnolia right now because he's having the burden of being a leading man. And when you're a leading man, he basically says you can't have edge. You have to be this sort of milquetoast. Not even likable, but just like non-offensive entity. And I don't know, sounds like a him problem. I think he can just sort of
Absolutely.
try and see what happens. And like you said,
Because Yeah.
He was an asshole in Edge of Tomorrow, and I think Edge of Tomorrow was successful, right?
Yeah.
So
And also think about the Bond films, which Mission Impossible has always been his Bond, the Tom
Yeah.
Cruise's Bond thing. And you had
Bond
more edge.
has edge.
Yeah, he's always had edge.
Yeah. He even up
Especially,
to even into some of his worst movies, he still has edge.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of lost it in the last one.
True.
So you can see this pattern repeating. But up to that point,
Everyone is a
also-
soft boy now, I guess,
Yeah.
in movies.
Nothing wrong with brooding emo boys. Nothing wrong with that. But also think about, I mean, those movies have never been as successful as Mission Impossible. But like Guardian of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. Yeah.
And he's got some issues. And the films explore them.
Yep.
I mean, it's more of
And
an
it's
ensemble
it's
thing, but
also
he's still-
tonally cohesive as well.
Yeah, from film to film.
Yeah.
But talking about a leading man, what was his name?
Chris Pratt.
Yeah, talking about a leading man, Chris Pratt, the most milquetoast
Yeah.
of guys.
Given the right story, the right movie.
He can be good. He's not a bad actor, but he's been a leading man for a very long time now. Even in something like the Jurassic Park, the Jurassic World movie said,
Yeah.
I don't see. He still has some character flaws.
Yeah.
He still gets angry. He still emotes. He's not this husk of a person that has nothing going on other than his martyr complex or whatever.
Well, Ethan Hunt doesn't have a martyr complex. He's just a martyr. Tom Cruise has a martyr complex, is what I think is the point.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Ethan Hunt is the chosen one.
Yeah. Something I wanted to mention earlier. So you have these impressive stunts and all of that, but everything has become so ridiculous, and there's so much suspension of disbelief because there's death-defying
Yeah.
stunt after death-defying stunt that at some point I just get bored.
Yeah.
As a viewer, something around like 60-70% of the films I get sleepy, I get bored, I start like, shifting in my seat because
Yeah.
I don't care about any of this.
Yeah.
Nothing. Up to like the plane things I was completely checking out
Yeah.
of the film, to be honest. And it's because it got a bit too extreme in a way that was not earned, was not built up to.
Yeah.
Like, are you telling me we need to do this? And
A
this
lot
and
of
we only have,
sentences starting with "Are you saying that?"
Yes. That's
Yes,
exactly
goddammit, that's what
I'm
I
saying.
said.
And it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah,
And-
easily the worst movie we watched
Easily.
for the podcast.
Yes, and easily the worst one in the series.
Yeah, easily the worst one in the series.
And if it's gonna be the last one, it's
And I want to have it
mean-
on record that the best one is obviously the first one. Second best, I would say Ghost Protocol. Third best, Mission Impossible 2. Fight me, I don't care. Tell me I'm wrong.
you know the only people who fight you is the ones who say Mission Impossible 2 is the number one.
Good point,
Which
actually.
I can live with that.
I can
I'm
live-
okay with it. I
You know what?
respect the person who
Before I
says that.
die, and hopefully I got a good 40 years ahead of me, I will rewatch at least. I mean, I will probably rewatch the odd Mission Impossible. I'm pretty sure the one that I will have rewatched the most is Mission Impossible 2 by John Woo.
Yeah. With good,
And I don't regret it.
For good
It's been a
reasons.
rewarding experience.
Every time.
God damn it. My childhood has value. Yeah.
What else can we say? So
Nothing, I think that's it. I mean, if
I
you want
do
to
want to point out.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of have to go back to work.
Yes.
But no, please, I don't want to interrupt you.
I do want to shout out Tremel Tillman, who
Ah.
was talking about how nobody has fun in those movies
Yeah.
anymore. Vanessa Kirby did in the Fallout
Yeah.
when she was hamming it up.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was great, and everybody was completely flat and kind of not lifeless, but every joy
Yeah.
and characterization was taken away from them. Vanessa Kirby had so much fun, and it was kind of infectious. The only person who reaches
That level.
that level
In
or
the-
close to that level is Tremel Tillman in this one. I
Yeah.
know you haven't seen Severance. He blew up from there. He's great.
Yeah.
And something I really love is, I don't know if this is like intentional on his part,
Uh-huh.
but he is an openly gay actor,
Uh-huh.
and I do feel like he's kind of giving Tom Cruise the fuck me eyes.
Yeah,
He's trying to bring some sexual tensions into it, and I loved it.
yeah. He was the best character in the film.
Absolutely.
And that whole submarine section was the one part in
highlight,
the
yeah.
film where I didn't cringe the whole time.
So I do want to point out that there is one
Shout out.
there is this glimmer of light from the performances in this.
Yeah.
And you have Nick Offerman, and you have Angela Bassett, and you have other great actors.
Yeah.
And they have nothing
Nothing to do.
to do. I know you get those people so they can be a shorthand, of course.
Yeah.
So they just bring their presence. But you gotta give them something. You gotta give an actor a task of some kind. Something they're trying to achieve in the scene, in this interaction.
Yeah.
And there's nothing,
Yeah.
which is just a shame. So shout out to Mel Tillmans for waking me up at some point and giving me some emotion watching this
Garbage.
horrendous, cynical.
Don't watch it, people
Please don't.
who
Watch
are listening to this
it, watch it at home.
in the future.
Let it die in cinemas. This does not deserve to. This does not deserve your attention. Does not deserve your money. This film has no respect for you as a viewer. No belief in its own legacy, even though it crams its legacy up your ass
Yep.
every possible second. Yeah, just overall very bad time.
I mean, I had a good time because I like bad movies. But
It was not enjoyably bad. Sorry. There were glimmers of things that were,
There were glimmers.
so bad.
Yeah.
You could laugh. I laughed a lot at some point. But overall, for me personally, it was kind of a miserable
I
experience.
like the part when the bad guy died.
Yeah, that was funny. Bye.
That's your trademark.
That's my trademark now.
Добре, супер.
Cinema Strolls is an independent podcast brought to you by Hot Potato Studio.
Hosted by me, Roman Pessarov.
And me, Angel Radev.
Production, graphic design, and editing by me, Noura Al Kadri. Music by Angel Radev.
You can find us everywhere at Cinema Strolls. Follow us on Instagram and support us on Patreon and Ko-fi.
Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.
Make sure to rate us, it really helps our show.